The hunt for so-called fake news publications continues across the web ever since it was alleged in autumn that such stories ultimately changed the course of America's presidential election. As a result, lists are being put together of the most shared fake news stories. RT's Emily Sue takes a closer look.
We're all guilty. We scroll down our Facebook newsfeed, see something outrageous, and then click and share it without even checking if it's real or not. And now BuzzFeed has come up with the 50 most popular fake news in 2016. Before I tell you what's on the list, though, remember how everybody blamed fake news for Trump's victory? Well, if fake news was what drove Americans to vote for Trump, you would have thought political and pro-Trump stories must have dominated the list, right? Wrong. Less than half of them fall under the politics category. Now, to be fair, 2 of those are pro-Trump, but others are dubious or just outright anti-Trump. But there's more to it. Take this anti-Clinton story, for instance. It came from the website called The Resistance, The Last Line of Defense. Sounds like the title of the latest Star Wars installment, doesn't it? Under their About Us tab, they say they're a group of educated, God-fearing Christian conservative patriots who are tired of Obama's tyrannical reign and ready to see a strong Republican take the White House. But are they for real? Not quite. Check out their disclaimer. All articles should be considered satirical, and any and all quotes attributed to actual people are complete and total baloney. So what they're publishing isn't fake news, it's meant to be political satire. Here's another website featured on the list by the name of satiratribune.com. Check out the headline on their homepage. Dick Cheney found alive at 75 years old. Really? Really? The bottom line is this. When we're fishing for fake news, it's inevitable that some satire stories will be caught up in the net. Then the whole thing really turns into a test of your sense of humor rather than your political stance.
The whole obsession with fake news really took off after Donald Trump won the American presidential election, a victory the mainstream media failed to foresee. But it's not the only time they've been blindsided by a major world event. RT's Gayane Chichikan reports.
The year 2016 has seen a meltdown of the mainstream media in that it largely failed to spot major trends in society while it hid in a reality of its own, a reality where Hillary Clinton was winning and Brexit could not happen.
Which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones right now, Donald Trump.
A lot of people have no idea that Trump is headed for a historic defeat.
I was a Brit. I would never vote for Brexit. I think it's a horrible idea.
When events didn't turn out as predicted, many in the media admitted they had been out of touch with what drove the decisive votes this year.
There was no possible way Donald Trump could win, stake their reputations on it. I just want to do a little, I thought I was wrong. I'll say it again. You were really wrong.
And I will tell you, pollsters, media pundits, even, Washington, Wall Street insiders, they just got it all wrong.
How wrong, including everyone, myself, all of us, we were wrong on Brexit.
Many journalists who had long relied on sources from political campaigns and from the government for their reporting could hardly explain why people voted the way they did.
Polling firms and we in the media who took their numbers as gospel failed to understand white America.
I think we have to do a radically better job of understanding the why of this vote, and I think we failed.
Major U.S. media outlets had officially endorsed Hillary Clinton for president. Shortly after their favored candidate lost, a media witch hunt began. Around 200 alternative news outlets were labeled as peddlers of Russian propaganda, spreading so-called fake news that supposedly hurt Hillary Clinton's chances. That story by the Washington Post went viral.
CNN contributor Jill Doherty looked at 3 studies. They found that much of the disinformation during the campaign came from Russia.
The smearing of hundreds of journalists was based on the findings of an anonymous group whose credibility was subsequently challenged. And under the threat of legal action, Washington Post later wrote it could not vouch for the group. This led many to accuse the Post and other mainstream outlets that ran with the story of generating fake news themselves.
The irony of this happening now cannot be missed. You have people who are basically trying to allege that the other side is guilty of fake news. Now, fake news is either news that you just make up or news that you're not reporting correctly. And what we're seeing here is that individual news agencies that claim others are involved in the fake news are themselves being accused of delivering fake news. In fact, fake news seems to be all the news that we hear.
In September, Gallup said Americans' trust in the mass media had dropped to its lowest level in the pollster's history. With the failed predictions, blacklists that could chill free speech, and unconfirmed reports based on anonymous sources, that trust may have since dropped some more. In Washington, I'm Ganesh Chekyan, RT.